In this video, we're going to look at user permissions. Here, I'm logged into a new server as the admin user. The admin account has full access to all areas of functionality within Statseeker and visibility of all data collected by Statseeker, but we need to specify access to both functionality and data for all other users. If we head to the admin tool, reporting and scheduling, console options, we can define our user account defaults. We have our global default settings granting access to dashboards, custom report creation, and the console. The dashboard user role, which we'll get into a little bit later, and the default landing page presented to the user when they log into the server. These permissions are automatically assigned to all user accounts upon creation. And here we can apply user-specific overrides to those permissions. I've configured my defaults to be access to the dashboards and console only, with no access to custom report creation, and I've set the console as the default landing page. Here we have a new user account, which I'll save, and when I log into the server as this new user, we see that I land in the console. I have no access to the admin tool or custom report components, and there's nothing displayed in the device, group, or report lists. I'll switch to dashboards and open the network summary. All the panels are empty, just like the columns in the console. The permissions we assigned in the console options have granted access to the functional components within Statseeker, but the user has no access to data. Data access is assigned through grouping, and there's two ways to achieve this. The first method that we'll look at is in the user account configuration. Back in my admin user session, we have the group selection. By assigning groups to a user, we grant access to all data associated with the content of those groups. We'll come back to all groups in a minute. Instead, I'm going to select other groups, and we have a list of all the groups on the server. I'll just select Athens and Barcelona and save the user. Back into that user session, and I'll refresh the dashboard, and we now have data. The groups variable offers the two groups that we just linked to the user, and I can select a group to apply it as a filter to the dashboard content. If I return to the console, we can see the assigned groups in the groups list and the devices found within those groups in the device list. But I still have no reports. And again, that goes back to our user to group associations. In our user configuration, when I selected the two groups, Athens and Barcelona, what happens in the background is that the user is in fact added to those groups. And if a user is added to a group, then the user had permission to view everything else in that group. A group can contain any entity that Statseeker is aware of, devices, interfaces, but also users and reports. The Athens and Barcelona groups contain devices, but they don't contain any reports. In the admin tool, user profile and grouping, add and edit groups. I'll select my groups, and we can see the devices in these groups. I'll switch to users, and we can see that our new user is also a member of the groups. But if I switch to reports, we can see that neither group contains a report. I could select some reports and add them to the groups, but I have a group containing the reports that I want available to my new user. So instead, I'll select that group and add the user. And this is the second method for assigning users to groups. We can assign groups in the user configuration and achieve the same here in the group configuration. Back in the user session, and we have a populated report list. There's another groups related setting available to both group and user configuration, the all groups option which we saw previously. All groups isn't actually a group, rather it's a flag that grants the user permission to access all data on the server, every report, group, device, interface, everything. If new groups or custom reports are created or new devices added to the network, users with the all groups permission will have access to that new entity without an admin needing to go and adjust their user account or group associations. I'll revert our new user back to their previous selection of just Athens and Barcelona, and we can look at the last setting in the user configuration, the admin role. The admin role grants the user admin privileges and access to the admin tool. And we can see that while our new user has access to the admin tool, granting the admin role hasn't altered their access to the custom reporting or altered their group associations. But as an admin user, there's nothing stopping them jumping into the admin tool and updating access to hidden functionality or applying the all groups permission as they see fit. To create user accounts with the same access as the default admin account, assign both the admin role and all groups permission, and apply any user-specific override needed to grant access to all Statseeker components. Now, there was a setting in the global defaults relating to the dashboard user role. Let's have a look at the options here. If I remove the user's admin role and confirm that the default role is viewer and there's no user overrides in play, then our new user has been reverted back to a dashboard viewer. Viewers have access to the general and default dashboard folders and can view but not edit the content of those folders. They also have access to any folder or dashboard that has a viewer role permission. Viewers can also run playlists, but if the playlist contains a dashboard that they don't have access to view, then the playlist will display an alert in place of that specific dashboard. Let's turn our dashboard viewer into a dashboard editor. Back in the console options, I'll apply an override setting the user as a dashboard editor. Dashboard editors can do and see everything that the viewers can, and in addition, they can create personal folders in order to provide a space to create and test dashboards outside of the general folder. They can also edit content in the general folder and any folder with an editor role permission. They can also move content from any folder where they have edit permission to the general folder, and they can create and edit playlists. Editors cannot update the permissions for a folder or a dashboard, including those they create. That functionality is reserved for admin users. I will reassign the admin role, and the user can now view, create, edit, move, and delete folders, dashboards, and playlists. The admin users can manage permissions on folders and dashboards, but they cannot edit the default dashboards folders or content. So let's update permissions on this admin only folder. We could assign permissions for all viewers or editors. Let's say all editors can view the folder. Now, the folder level permissions are inherited by every dashboard in the folder. I'll jump into this dashboard, go to settings and select permissions. We can see the inherited permissions here, and I can add additional dashboard level permissions, in this case a user level permission, giving them view or edit rights to the dashboard. Okay, that's a quick look at user permissions.